An evening of live music, arts, education, and trade. Potluck social with liberty-minded people from New England and beyond. April 5th at St. Joseph's Church Hall in Cumberland, Rhode Island. Details on the web at libertylovefest.org. That's libertylovefest.org.
Good evening, my name is Tony Jones, and you are tuned in to The Coalition, where we discuss all sides of local, regional, and national news, politics, and current events online at coalitionradio.us. You can check in with me throughout the show at facebook.com/The Coalition Radio and on Twitter at coalition_radio. P.O., heck of a week.
Hell of a week there, Sparky. I'm not sure where to begin. I actually was found in the fetal position underneath my computer this morning, shaking from the.
Isn't that where all trolls hang out?
I figured you'd be like a little kid at Christmas, overexcited and hyperventilating and running a fever. And
at one point, I nearly spontaneously combusted.
I'm not surprised.
And perhaps the high point of my weekend was John DePietro begging me not to keep posting media twits to his tweet.
P.O. came in today singing the old Sunday school hymn, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart.
Listen, all I've ever wanted since we started this little enterprise was to perpetuate a sense of dread, fear, chaos, and loathing. I want to see careers ruined, lives destroyed. Is that a lot to ask for, Tony?
Preferably not your own, of course.
To quote one of those old spaghetti westerns, they've already taken everything from me. I have nothing left to give. The prospect of simultaneously Fred Phelps and Gordon Fox going down in 1 week, wow. And I'm not sure which one's more exciting. Actually, I do. Gordon Fox has a more evil and pervasive effect on my life and the life of average Rhode Islanders than Fred Phelps and the Westboro Baptist Church ever could.
Oh, so wasn't Fred Phelps in his 80s?
Yes.
So it's really not surprising in any way that he would eventually die and that this might be the week it happened.
He left this mortal coil, just as Queen so elaborately put it in their mid-70s opus. Another one bites the dust.
Right.
Another one bites the dust. Gordon, can I give you that old Irish blessing? Lad, don't let the door be hitting you in the arse on the way out.
I thought that was a Vanilla Ice song.
I don't think it's a blessing anyway.
Well, if you go to the Coalition Facebook page, you will understand why even right now I see dead people. In this building that we broadcast from, at least for now, all right, they are both. Two of the last 5 axis of evils share office space literally feet apart. Both Billy Murphy, everybody's buddy, and Gordo have adjoining office space on the second floor. Here at 127 Doran Street, by the way, his name's not on the building, so take my word for it. So if you have constituent affairs that you want to press, I believe they have office hours all day. Please feel free to come in. The door is open. If not, I'll get you the code. Okay. Again, let me throw out a question. First of all, Tony, please, I'm besides myself. I'm verklempt. Please introduce the rest of our cohorts, our cast here.
We have our favorite people in studio.
Thanks, Tony.
Chris to the right. Oh, that's stuck in the middle with you. Chris to the right. Dave Fisher to the left.
And here you are stuck in the middle.
Dave is rejoining us this week because it's just so much fun. Listen, let me just throw out this question: what does Ted Nesi, Karen Macbeth, and Bob Plain all have in common? Bueller?
They all mystify. I know the answer to this.
I'm trying to find something that's not quite as obvious.
Right.
May I? in the last year, they've all sucked up to Gordon Fox. All right, Bob Plain, my friend, who actually I admire in a sort of twisted way for being the path of truth and righteousness, actually in a piece that we also managed to retweet, all right, last year endorsed Gordon Fox's election over a progressive Democrat, Mark Binder, who by all accounts ran a highly credible campaign, came within hundreds of votes of unseating the most powerful man in the state. All right. Yet progressives, Dave, wasn't it just a week or so ago we were having this very chat about how Rhode Island progressives seem to continue to endorse the face of evil?
Yes, we had a lengthy discussion about the wasted vote syndrome that the so-called progressives in Rhode Island seem to suffer from.
Now, and then there's Lady Karen, they lied to me, Macbeth, who went on a media tear earlier this year and late last year, claiming that her vote in favor of, reminder, Cumberland residents, in favor of 38 studios, that was, did I say that clearly? She voted to support, ultimately, us losing $100+ million for 38 studios. They lied to me. She turned around and voted for Gordon Fox for leader. Then,
so apparently she doesn't really mind being lied to all that much.
I lied to her. I said I was going to vote for her.
And she's fine with that, apparently.
And then in a moment where my brain, what's left of it, actually melted, Ted Nesi, who I admire a lot, is a fine writer, does an admirable job covering a difficult and challenging political beat, mentioned that Gordon Fox had always been polite to him. Well, isn't that nice for you, Ted? Isn't that special? Of course he was nice to you. You work for Channel 12. What did you expect him to do?
Well, that doesn't necessarily follow. I think a lot of politicians, if you ask them a question they don't want to answer, they get snappish, they walk away from their mic.
That is absolutely 100% the truth, and I can tell you from my short tenure as a reporter at the State House, it's all about access, and if you don't play ball, you don't get access, which means...
And that's a problem, too, at this point.
It really is. You know, P.O. and I had a rather lengthy conversation, was it last night or Friday night?
You and I have every conversation with P.O. I think
about just exactly that, how, you know, reporters basically have to play nicey nice to get access, and that's frankly anathema to the so-called virtues of the fourth estate in this country.
Right. I mean, it seems to me I should be able to ask any politician any question as long as I'm not being an a-hole about the way I phrase it.
Luckily, P.O., we are classified as commentators, so we don't have to follow the rules.
This is true.
It could be joints.
Yeah.
By the way,
and frankly, being a jerk shouldn't preclude someone from having their question answered. I'm not suggesting that either.
Is that how it works for me?
I guess. Do people answer your questions?
Occasionally. Usually after I've gotten served. No,
but if you behave professionally as a journalist and you're asking someone a question they don't feel like answering, the response shouldn't be, everyone's being mean to me and I'm taking my ball and going home.
Well, and it also...
Answer the darn question or admit that you're not going to answer it. And have the egg on your face. And
we all know very well that a no comment is a comment in itself.
Oh, yes.
Well, I guess I look at the situation since now it's not even a revolving door. It's a one-way escalator between the quote-unquote fourth estate and future employment within Halitosis Hall. We dedicated an entire show a few months back to just going over the list of people who used to work in the alleged media who have managed to find themselves gainful employment and possibly a pension with the state of Rhode Island or the federal government, courtesy of David Cicilline, courtesy of the State House, courtesy of blah, 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 blah. And so, I understand that these people are in a difficult position because, quite frankly, most of the companies that they work for are probably going to evaporate in the next 3 years. Right. We'll talk a little bit today about the acquisition of Lynn Broadcasting.
There's always room here at the Coalition. Spend your Sundays with us.
Right.
Yes. The pay package is interesting.
Well, ultimately, when the HuffPost doesn't do it for you anymore, you can get treated even worse and make even less here. All right, so we put that out there to folks.
Attention, all former patch writers and editors.
But Dave, I know you spent a lot of time focusing on those over the last day. Why don't you elaborate a little bit on some of the Just for the sake of argument, folks, let us put it out here. First of all, we're anti-porn, outrage porn. We don't care about handicap elections. Tonight, we are also suspending all rules of decency, baseless speculation, incredulous comments, and just hyperbole and fiction are fully embraced by the coalition tonight. So Dave, just bring us up to date on some of the conspiracies that are taking place. I had heard that at one point today, all the Republicans except Doreen Costa were actually in meetings with not Mattiello. Who's the other guy?
Marcello,
yes.
Mike Marcello.
So just kind of lay it all out for us.
Well, so just the 30-second recap, as most of our listeners know, Rhode Island Speaker Gordon Fox his office and home was raided on Friday morning. Subsequently, on Saturday, he resigned his position. Now, oddly enough, Representative Nicholas Mattiello announced that he would run for the speaker's seat. He threw his hat in the ring before Representative Fox had even resigned the position, which is a very interesting development. I mean, he was clearly chomping at the bit to get out of the gate there on that one. And then in the subsequent aftermath, quite a bit of talk in progressive circles about who should run against Mattiello. Chris Blazajewski was the name that came up, Stephen Ucci, and of course Michael Marcello, who appears to be the front runner on that side. Last night, the Providence Journal reported that the Democrats had in fact split into three factions: one for the Mattiello DeSimone camp, one for the Marcello Blazajewski camp, and then another group of Democrats that remained uncommitted. Now, this really puts the ball in the uber minority of Republicans in the House, where their 6 votes are really going to matter to this race.
For once.
Right.
Let me jump in for a second. It's been widely reported that the missing Prius has announced that the Republican minority actually met inside of Clay Pell's missing Prius.
Well, there's no more phone booths, right?
And I was told they fit. Please continue.
So, of course, as we all know, the Twitter sphere and Facebook world has been just absolutely abuzz. There have been numerous updates on all of our local news outlets, from television websites to newspaper websites, and of course, Rhode Island Public Radio. So as it stands right now, that's pretty much. There's a faction that's behind Mattiello and DeSimone for Speaker and House Majority Leader. There's a faction that's pushing for Michael Marcello and Chris Blazajewski for those same positions. And I would assume that undecided group of Democrats is slowly splitting up between those two factions, because I haven't heard a third nomination come out of any of those camps yet.
What's at stake for the Rhode Island progressive political movement? What's at stake here?
Well, this is a tremendous opportunity for the Progressive Caucus in the House of Representatives. I would say I called my rep today, and also my rep from District 50, Steve Casey, and said, look, if you want to come down on the right side of history here, Michael Marcello and Chris Blazajewski is the way to go. For one simple reason. They both have impeccable records for open government and transparency. Don't take my word for it. Ask John Marion over at Common Cause, and he will tell you exactly the same thing. And if the House needs anything right now, after Harwood, Murphy, and now Gordon Fox, we need some openness and transparency. And we need somebody in that leadership role that's going to fight for that.
Right, absolutely.
Now, let me just a couple of disclaimers here. Number one, the political memory in Rhode Island is short. Understand that the reigns of terror go back further than that. I mean, DeAngelis, what did the Phoenix had a term for him, the Dark Prince, and before that you had Kelly, who left in a cloud of scandal after, let's just say, marital disputes gone amok, and one can trace back the Deborah Piva Weed's rise to power with the Kelly regime, because she was used as the feminist foil to try and put lipstick on the Kelly pig after certain claims were made in court about his behavior towards his wife. So Let me also make a disclaimer now. If you haven't listened to the show before, Dave recently completed an admirable run for mayor as an independent candidate, as a progressive, left-leaning candidate for the mayoralty of Woonsocket, focusing actually on economic reforms and open government. And you actually contemplated at one moment, I'll put you on the spot here, contemplated very briefly a run for the seat that was opened up by the election of Don't Cry For Me Woonsocket, their mayor.
I did. And